Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to try to cram a whole bunch of stuff into as short a time frame as I possibly can. I'm going to do another wrecked puddle pour, and I am going to do it on a white base with black puddles and the pearl paints on top. So I had a couple of people say they wanted to see the dried results from the last video, and it was posted. It was the thumbnail for the video, although many may not have realized it. But this is the dried results. It's very shimmery. It's hard for you to see that on the camera. Maybe if I tip it to the light, yeah, you can see a little bit of the shimmer. My lighting isn't great. I'm working on it. But these were virtually all custom colors except for the blue. And today we're going to talk just a little bit about mixing custom colors with the pearl paints. But I also wanted to show you some of the other things that you can do with paint right out of the tube or right out of the bottle. So this is another one that I did that I actually ended up liking more because it had more white space. It is pretty much the same colors. However, it's obviously a different shaped canvas, and I stretched it a lot further. So we'll talk about that as I'm pouring out the puddles. And we talk about consistency and puddle size and how many puddles and how far to space them apart. You get the idea. I'm using all custom colors this time. I'm using purple, magenta, teal, and I'm going to mix up something a little special. So this is kind of like your mini tutorial on how to create your custom colors. So I'm going to get right into it just because I don't want to waste a whole bunch of time on this part. I want to have enough time to talk through the painting and actually guide you to having a good result. So what I have here is pearl green and pearl yellow. I love the pearl green, not a fan of the yellow. So I've been trying to do different things with the yellow to make it more lovable or at least likable. So I'm only going to go over my pouring medium just really briefly. I mix 1 part Artist Loft gloss gel medium and Flood Floetrol. 1 part to 4 parts. Mix very slowly. I make up a tub of this stuff at a time, a quart, sometimes 2 quarts. You want to put all of your gloss gel in the bottom of your cup, and you want to measure out your Floetrol and pour it in small increments, a couple of ounces at a time. Incorporate it really, really well. Add the next 2 ounces, incorporate it really, really well until you get about half of your Floetrol in. You can then put the rest in and mix it really, really well. I prefer to let it set for a couple of days after I mix it, if possible. And that way I know that it's kind of dissolved into itself. And then I give it a good mix before I use it. And then I mix my colors with it. I use this same recipe pouring medium for puddle pours, straight pours, ring pours, every kind of pour that you would want to do. I use this mix for. The only ones that I do not use it in is a Dutch pour. I use Sirocco's Dutch pour recipe on her channel. You can look it up. It's excellent. For actual pearl pours, I use Sarah Taylor's recipes. I don't do any pearl pours anymore. I haven't done one in a very long time, at least a year. But when I do, I mix the paints up fresh and I use Sarah Taylor's recipes. And then for blooms, I don't use this recipe. I use a completely different recipe. So what I'm going to start doing is putting my recipes and my combinations in the description so that people have something solid to go on. They don't have to keep going back to the video and trying to make out what I'm trying to tell you. I don't always explain things perfectly. So I'm going to put my recipes in the description to help you. Okay, for a puddle pour, I'm going to mix this 1 part paint to about 4 parts of my pouring medium. I'm going to use mostly yellow. And this is going to seem really maybe a little strange, but I'm going to use mostly yellow. Which I've got another tube, but this one is pretty close to the end. Okay, so I have about 1 ounce of yellow pearl paint in there. Not a lot. And I'm going to start by adding just a squeeze of green. Like maybe a couple of inches out of the tube. And then I'm going to mix it up really well and test it out on my black trash bag here, just to see how it's affecting the yellow. I should say gold, because it really isn't yellow at all. It is thoroughly gold. And I just want to get a yellow with a hint of green. Not a lime, maybe almost a pea green, I think is what you would end up with. So, just going to test it. Nope, still very gold. Going to add more green. I'm going to put the same amount in again. About 2 inches squeezed out of the tube. And mix, 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 mix. And if I don't like it, I'm just going to pull another color, because I do have some other colors mixed up. I just wanted to add kind of a greenish yellow to this particular color palette. Okay, let's see where we're at. I don't know, maybe I should have started with green and added yellow to it, because I'm going to end up with a ton of paint here. So at this point, I'm almost at equal parts, which I was not expecting to have to do. Quite a bit of paint in there. I've never mixed this before, this color before, so this is a new custom color, and I'm either going to love it or I'm going to hate it. There's nothing in between. Okay, I'm picking up some green. That's where I'm going to stop, because that is the shade of green that I want. So we're going to go with it. And I'm just going to add my pouring medium. That is about 4 to 1. Put that out of the way. Now, this pouring medium is quite thick, so you probably could use it as mixed for pours, pours where you wanted your colors to stay very defined, and you'd want a thick paint for that. But I'm going to show you when I'm done mixing this just how thick this is. And I use mostly Amsterdam paints. If not, then something of similar consistency. And this is what you end up with. It's gloppy. It's so thick it just flops off the stick. And for a wrecked puddle pour, this will not work. So I squirt in a couple of tablespoons of distilled water. And see how it's all sloppy on the top? You're just going to mix it. Okay, I'm getting closer. So now I'm at the thick drizzle big mound stage. I'm going to add about another tablespoon. And I think this is going to bring me where I need to be. So I'm getting a small mound that is disappearing very quickly. And that is the correct consistency. You can do it thinner, but I think your pearl paints tend to maybe sink in and not be so vibrant if your paint mixture is not thick enough. So I think that looks really good. Another way I could describe this is 2-3 second trace. That's about how much, that's about the consistency. So just a quick recap. I have 1.5 ounces of paint. I have 4 ounces of my pouring medium, and I have 3 tablespoons of water in this 5-ounce cup. And that's perfect. So I'm going to leave it. And I'm going to stop the video here. I'm going to get set up, and then we're going to start in with the puddle pour. So today I'm going to be working on a 20 by 20 gallery wrapped 3/4 inch side canvas. I've used these a lot. They're inexpensive, and I can afford to ruin one every once in a while and not feel horrible about it. If I'm doing a commission or doing a special painting, then I will get the 1.5 inch side reveal. So the first thing I want to teach you, if you don't already know this, is out of the package, you have a lot of play in that canvas. I use a fine mist water bottle. This doesn't drop a lot of water, but it disperses it very well. Just run my hand over it to make sure it's everywhere and soaking in. And then I put it back on my stands, or if I have tacks, I pop it back. And I just let it sit to tighten. That's really all you're going to need. What that allows is the canvas to support the weight of the paint without sagging in the middle and having everything run to the center. That's really important. So while that is tightening up, we're going to talk about the consistency of your paints. All of the paints are mixed with that pouring medium to the same ratio except for the base coat. The base coat has a wider ratio. I have about 1 part paint to 7 or 8 parts pouring medium, and then probably at least 2 parts of water, because the base I like just a little bit thinner than the puddles. So I'm going to try to show you. This doesn't leave much of a trace. It goes straight into the paint. Pretty much no trace at all. This is the right consistency for me personally. You'll want to experiment with different consistencies to see what works for you. Why this works for me is because of the amount of paint that I prefer to use and the way I put my puddles down. So that's ready to go. So I can take the stick out. And then my first layer of puddles is going to be the Amsterdam Oxide Black. This is pure Oxide Black. There's nothing else added to it. This is a little thicker than my base. This is the same consistency as my pearl paints. And I'm getting a little mound, and it's disappearing. Hopefully you can see that. 2 to 3 second trace. That is my initial puddles, my black puddles. So I've just got this paper cup with dog hair in it. I know, shocking. The life of a dog mom. And probably not going to need this much, but it's 3/4 full. I think that's an 8-ounce cup. It's a party cup. 3/4 full with the Oxide Black puddle paint. That's step 1. Or ish. And then I have my freshly mixed up pearl yellow green, which is going to be, actually, I think it's going to be pretty. I'm kind of excited. Just want to make sure that it's not streaky. I wish that I had been able to mix up a pot of this to kind of let it melt together a couple of days ago, but I didn't really know that I was doing this video until today. So there is that. And then, well, I have black paint smeared all over me. Time to get rid of that paper towel. So I have my purple, which is equal parts. No, actually it's not. It's 3 parts pearl blue to 1 part pearl red. And I've already mixed these up, so we're good to go. And then I have my pearl teal, which is half and half, blue and green. Pearl blue, pearl green. 50-50. And then I have magenta, which is, what is this? My brain to kick in here. Magenta is pearl, violet, and red, equal parts. So, ladies out in the order that I want to use them. And we are going to get down to business. I'm going to test my canvas. Nice drum sound. That's what you're looking for. So, we start, now that we know this is ready, with our base. Don't flood your canvas. Go around the perimeter. And I believe that really is enough. And that is about 10 ounces of paint for a 20 by 20. So you want to swirl this to within a couple of inches of the edges. But do not go over any edges at all. And you should see your paint start to thin out and slow down when you have it all around the sides. Oops, I went a little too close on that one, so I'm going to stop messing around. Okay. Get back on my stands. And so, I'm going to give this a quick torch. As far as torches go, this is what I use. Like, I don't mess around. This is what I have. I'm not going to go buy the cutesy little torch on Amazon that you got to keep refilling. I don't need that in my life. You don't either. If you're comfortable using a regular torch, just use a regular torch. So, I'm just popping the initial bubbles, and I am way too close to this edge, and I'm not real thrilled with that. So I'm just going to push my paint back. I like a little bit more predictable results. Staying away from the edge is actually quite important for your stretching and for deciding on your design. Okay, base is down. Black puddles. You can do these as close together or as far apart as you want, but keep in mind, if they are very close together, you're not going to get a lot of white negative space. If they are too far apart, you're going to pour off more of your puddles than you keep. So you need to find a balance. For me, visually, I know what that balance is. I want my puddles a minimum of 1 inch apart. And I don't want to go, I want to stay within 2 inches, 3 inches of this white edge of the puddle of paint. So I'm going to start by dropping one. I'm just going to squeeze that a little bit, dropping one right in the middle. And I would like to have these on the smaller side. You can do them bigger. You can do them any size that you prefer. I'm doing an 1.5 inch diameter circle. And I'm going to drop these. It looks like almost exactly, and expect to put your cup in your paint. That's going to happen. Almost exactly 2 inches apart. And you can gauge this by, can I fit a whole puddle in between this one and the next one? And don't get too pour happy here because this spreads. The puddles will spread on you. You can randomize, or you can be very methodical and very laid out. It's entirely up to you. It's your art. A lot of the outer edges are going to go off, at least partially. So don't waste a lot of paint once you start getting close to this outer edge. And I'm going to have just a little more paint in here because I want to kind of go in between the outer ring. And your outer puddles will stretch the most. And that's just the nature of tilting. Your outer puddles will always stretch the most because they're going to hit the side and you're going to tilt it back and it's going to pull them back, pull the paint back and create a much larger puddle. Okay, how do we feel about that? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And I have 4 colors, so I need one more puddle somewhere else. You win. I just like to keep it, evened out. Okay. So that is the black puddles. And I'm going to start with this yellow-green. And I will tell you, it's really hard to know what you've poured and where you've poured it. That's why I like patterns. So I'm filling my bubbles, but I'm leaving a black edge. I want that ring around the outside. And one more somewhere. We have a winner. Okay, that was the yellow-green. I may run short of the pearl teal. I'm actually going to use that next because I'm going to put it in the smaller black puddles. So this is the pearl teal. and I really love this color, so I'm not going to go too close to the outside. Oh boy, that was close. It was really close. Okay, now I can do the purple. That was purple, and this one is magenta. Okay, we have all 4 of our colors down, 5 of each. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to wreck it. The tool that you choose to wreck it is going to determine how much wrecking actually occurs with each swipe through. What I mean by that is if you use the stubby end of a paintbrush, you're going to get a fatter line that's going to drag more color around and drag more of your base up. If you use like a pin or a needle, it's not going to drag a lot of color. I found that I just like a pointed end skewer. Works perfectly. It picks up enough paint to move the color through and doesn't leave a wide swath. So, I'm not going to torch it again just yet. I'm going to wreck it first because this does create a little bit of bubbling. And where I have a square canvas, I want to keep in mind the direction that I wreck in is going to determine the sort of the orientation of the painting. So I do want kind of a diagonal flow. So that's the first wreck that I'm going to do. And I'm going to start in this corner, and I'm going up and then down through and then back up and down through and then back up. That's the first wreck. The second wreck is going to be the corner to the left, same exact pattern, starting at the corner, up, and then through all of the puddles, up, through all the puddles, through this one twice, and then back up. With the larger ones, I like to do at least 3 passes with wrecking. With the small ones, you can really only get away with 2 passes with the tiles. But with these larger ones, you can do 3, even 4 passes. And my next pass is actually going to be just straight back and forth. And I'm just going straight through. And you could do this really slow and be very deliberate to divide your puddles evenly. It depends on your OCD. Whatever you feel you need to do is fine. It's your art. So, torch time. And I can't overstate enough how important it is to pop those bubbles before you start tilting. Because when you're tilting, if a bubble pops, It's going to stretch and leave the pearl paint thin so you can see dark spots through it. Very important to not have any bubbles showing. You can even wait a minute or two just to see if any more come up. Whatever you're comfortable with. I am going to go ahead and tilt. So, there's a million different ways to start tilting. I am no tilting expert. I just sort of decide where I want to drop the paint off first, and I walk the paint back and forth while tilting in that direction so that my puddles don't kind of mush all together. And I want to get as much of a point as I can before I come right back. Now, where I'm doing a square canvas, I don't have to worry about moving all the way across the canvas and then having to go all the way back. It's equal. So I can pick whatever corner that I want to go off from and go from there. What I want to do with this one is I'm going to go off from that corner right there. I've tried going diagonal corners. I did not like it. Same thing. Walk it down. It will go. It will roll over itself a little bit, but it will go. And then right back up. And I'm going to spin this around to do these two corners. And you notice I'm not adding a flow extender to the edges of this paint. It isn't necessary. If you really don't want to have the rollover, just do this. Wet the canvas. It's as easy as that. You don't have to mess around with a flow extender. You don't have to add more paint that's just going to flow off. Just wet the canvas. That's it. All right, I need to find the weight of my paint. And it's actually dead center. So I'm going off from this same side, other corner. Oop. And then I need to shift the weight of my paint. So I'm going to come back just a little bit towards myself and my right hand to bring it to the center. And then I'm going to start walking it down. Now I'm just going to tell you really quick what happens if you don't get it back to center. All of this that you see here is just going to drag right along that edge. And that, it's not visually appealing to me. You get to decide if you mind that or not. I mind it. So I'm going right off and back up. And man, is this heavy because there is a lot of paint still on this canvas. And I will tell you, the nice thing about this pouring medium that I use is that even if I leave a ton of paint on this canvas, it's not going to crack. It is not going to crack. It's not going to hurt it one bit. It's just, it gives you some wiggle room. You can shift your painting until it's appealing to you. You can get rid of things you don't like. There's all kinds of ways you can do this, and I'm not an expert at making decisions for other people. I just know I don't want to lose this teal or this magenta, but I could lose that corner a little bit. And I don't love how long this is here. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually shift my paint back up to this corner. See if I have plenty to do so without warping the entire thing. And I'd like to see my center stretch just a little bit more. And I don't need to go off this edge of the canvas. I just want to shrink this. Okay. And I'm going to go a little bit back to center. And then I want to shrink this a little bit. So I'm going to tilt in that direction. And I'm going to keep an eye on this, that it doesn't stretch back out. And I think I want to come a little this way towards this back corner. All I want to do is just shrink that a little bit there. I think that's adequate. Okay, so I'm happy with this design. There is still a lot of weight of paint on the canvas. I'm perfectly fine with that. What I want you to notice before we wrap this up, this is the color that I mixed. See all the dots in it? They're very obvious. These are all colors that I mixed probably 2 months ago, at least. And they've been sitting covered on my shelf, and they are smooth, smooth, smooth. This is something you are going to run into if you hurry and mix up paints and go ahead and throw it down on the canvas. It's just the way it is. I don't know what causes it. I don't know how to stop it. It's just going to happen. That's all. And it may or may not ruin this painting. I'll find out when it's dry. Tomorrow, maybe, the next day. This will probably take a couple of days to dry to the touch. Just because the paint is going to get left thick. But that is the explanation of a wrecked pearl pour on a white base. And I hope that that was tremendously helpful for you. And I really appreciate you guys coming back to watch again. I enjoy doing these tutorials. I want to be helpful. I want your input. I appreciate it so much. And if you could do me a favor, if you have your own YouTube channel and you are following my channel, please tell me in the comments so that I can click on your profile and subscribe to you. The other thing that I would like, if you're interested, I would like for you to look me up on Facebook. I am Vegas Maniac Designs, and you can follow me there. If you do follow me, send me a message or leave me a comment on here saying, hey, I followed you on Facebook. I will follow your art page back. I would really love to do that. I'd love to see what you put out, what you create, what you do. I'm excited to share with you guys and to get to know you and to help each other out. So that's it for this video. I am going to let this dry before I post the video because I do want to add this into the end because I want to talk about how these freshly mixed paints dry as compared to the ones that have been mixed up for quite some time. So I'm going to tack that on the end and close it out for now. It is 2 days later, It's very early in the morning, so I'm just holding my camera so that it can be close to me and I don't have to speak loud. Everybody else is still sleeping, including the dog, so I'd like to keep it that way, at least for a little while longer. But I wanted to kind of talk about the custom color that I mixed up on camera to show you how to create custom colors. And the concern that I had about how splotchy it looked, and it did dry that way. I mean, there's no physical texture to it, but visually it's very splotchy. It's also not as green as I had hoped. That yellow is like the pearl white. It's very strong. And as I did mention in the video, I probably should have started with green and added a little yellow. Anywho, the colors are beautiful. They're vibrant. This is a testament to my pouring medium, how nice and smooth and shiny it dries. The colors are gorgeous. This center here is not fully dry. You can see that milkiness still. This is going to be another couple of days before I'd even dare touch that center. And it's already been 2 days, but my custom colors, my magenta, the purple, and the teal are smooth and beautiful. The color is very vibrant. These are the dried or mostly dried results, and I wanted to show you that you can trust my pouring medium recipe to dry smooth and shiny. There's a lot of visual texture. You can see the lines really well. There's a lot of definition, but you can't feel them. There's no lip on the edges of the paint. So it did dry nice and flat and very vibrant. So thanks for tuning in. Thank you guys for coming back. Sorry that this video is so long, but I wanted to be very, very thorough because of the type of comments that I received in the previous video of a painting like this. And I hope that I have been able to provide you with enough information so that you can take this and do something with it, recreate this painting or something similar. Again, if you have any questions, please throw them in the comments. I hope this is helpful. I thank you guys for tuning in, and let me know what you think in the comments.